We're hanging nose to nose with a Romulan battlecruiser.
They say resist is futile. That individual is out of style. It's a simulation, not a but I know less about
Hello and good evening. Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 2, Episode 11, Contagion, is over, and it has been since March 20th of 1989, the birthday of Davin Skellhorn himself. But we're just getting started here for this April 10th, 2025, as we continue our mission to watch every episode of Star Trek The Next Generation in order and talk all about it. I'm Dave Maynor, live streaming here on Live Long and Podcast, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Live while it lasts. Feels like that's going away. And you might be listening to us on audio version. And I got a great panel once again to break it all down. It was supposed to be Heather Narduzzi, but then it became Chris Worldmind Murphy. Here he is, sir. The first of our many substitutes.
It's a refresh and a reboot of the cast here today, but, you know, I'm here nonetheless to talk
Yes.
about...
I'm happy to see you. It's been a long time.
It's been a
been
long
too long,
time
sir.
getting from there to here. Coming in next, it was supposed to be Jody Simpson, but then he also jumped in here. It's Justin Velociraptor.
Good evening. I am playing Corey Hart this evening because I can't find my actual glasses.
There you go. And actually, I think this spot was originally supposed to be Chris's, but then he
Yes.
gave it to Adam just to take Heather's eventually. So coming in next, it's Adam Woodward.
Hey guys, I'm happy to be here tonight. I guess I stood in for Chris, but I feel like I'm the original now. I'm the original guy.
Yeah. Well, we've come full circle, it feels like, on the substitutions. And we're going to break all this episode down. Yes, the ship of Theseus, the podcast of Theseus here tonight. Of course, we have a live stream. We got Norman with us here. This is when we try to restart was a new thing. Yes, exactly. We're going to talk about this episode. In this episode, everybody, Picard and company try to protect the Enterprise against a catastrophic malfunction and simultaneously unlock the secrets of the once powerful Iconian Empire while keeping those secrets from the watchful Romulans. And yeah, we get to see a lot of things in this episode. The first example, I think, of an other Galaxy class ship in the U.S.S. Yamato, just for them to blow it the hell up.
We didn't see a lot of those, Dave. Like through the series, didn't
No,
really
yeah. We saw a lot of them in Deep Space Nine. Like that class of ship shows up in the Dominion War quite a bit, but no, not very much in this show. Like if you compare it to original series, we got to see several examples of other Constitution class starships in that show and afterwards, you know, that class. But yeah, the Galaxy class, we don't see it that often here on TNG other than the Enterprise itself. So we're going to break this all down. I'm interested to see what the panel thinks. Now, Justin, you were kind of saying before we went on the air that, you know, maybe this isn't a banger for you, but that you found some things worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those episodes where I feel like, other than the Iconians being brought in with the Iconian Gateway and, you know, the shout out to the city closest to a few of us,
Right.
It's just not a hugely. There's just this is one of the ones that I think suffers from early season syndrome for TNG. There's just a few things in it that don't really add up, but I think you can definitely say it's the growing pains of figuring out what the crew is and how they actually act and everything. Hey, there it is, Old City Hall, Toronto. But
Yes.
and then Norman stole my my best piece of trivia for this episode, that this is the The first introduction of tea, Earl Grey, hot.
Is this actually the first? Oh, wow. That's kind of interesting that this is the first time it's said. I thought I guess he's had tea in other episodes. Maybe I'm imagining that.
I think
But-
this is the first time he says that exact phrase. I think we see him drinking tea, but I think we actually see him order it from the thingy the first time here.
Let me ask you, Chris. How does this episode from 1989 live up to your highfalutin technical standards in 2025?
Highfalutin technical standards. I mean, I'm always down for a good viral system crash and things are about to explode. Sorry, I had a viral system crash. I'm always good. I'm always down for a nice tense situation of just like, how do we fix this? Things are gonna explode. Like I always like those kind of situations. So I enjoy this episode probably more so than I have previous episodes that I've been on to talk about so far.
Okay. He's coming
yeah.
in. He's coming in positive, or mildly positive at least.
That's good. That's good.
And over to you, Adam. I'm sure you've seen this episode many times. How was it for this time on the rewatch for you?
Not when I rewatched that many times, so it was good. It was fresh to me. I remember it very well. When you consider the magnitude of a galaxy class starship exploding with friends and colleagues on board, right in front of them, I think it's pretty impactful. They carried it on professionally and trying to solve their problems. I thought it was kind of funny though. The one when the first instance, we'll get there, I know that, but I'm going to call it out. The one instance where Picard's door wouldn't open in front of them, and they couldn't link that as part of the problem right away.
Right. It wasn't symptomatic to them, obviously. Yet. But Norman's, calling it the Romulans. That Romulan commander, I love her. I think she's great. Like there's a lot of good stuff in this episode, like underlying. And for an early season 2, is it season 2? Yeah. Yeah, we're in season 2.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
The Romulan commander played by Carolyn Seymour, possibly relation to Chris Seymour. We're not sure, but yes, British.
I got a
actress.
quick question. Is this like the first time we've seen a Galaxy class ship get like demolished?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is the first
I think
time
that's
one
what makes
blows
that-
up on screen.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this episode feel like such high stakes.
For sure.
The effects on that were really good too for the 80s. That
Yeah,
explosion and like the dissolving.
Well, that's the whole cold open.
saucer.
So let's have a look here at how the episode starts with the Enterprise receiving a distress call from the U.S.S. Yamato that's in the Romulan neutral zone. And so they're on their way to assist. Now, we see here Picard looking at some technical schematics from the Yamato that they're having some system problems as he's approaching here. He then comes to the bridge and they are, announcing that, there are some issues here with the Yamato. They kind of have got some information in the transmission already. So they're kind of briefing Picard on all that. And then they eventually meet up with the ship itself, which of course looks identical on screen to the Enterprise in almost all respects, I think. And we meet Captain Donald Varley of the, is played by Thalmus Rasulala of the Yamato. He says, "What's a good Starfleet captain doing here in the neutral zone?" Picard says to Yarly. He goes, "Picard, I found the Iconian gate. I found the Iconia and the Empire." And he's like, "Are you trying to start a war?" He's like, "I'm trying to prevent one, Picard. I'm trying." We find out that both these starship captains, respectively, are students of archaeology, and they know a lot about the Iconian Empire. So this discourse or conversation goes back and forth. We see that the Yamato is having many technical problems. The viewer keeps glitching and malfunctioning here as this conversation with Yarly is going on. And I just want to also point out that, we can also see from the view screen here that the bridge of the Yamato is different Although it does have that tactical console at least behind the captain's chair, but I can't tell how much of it's that they're pulling out the circuits, or how much of this is actually meant to be like the permanent fixtures of the ship. But
you also
Yeah,
got to
just-
believe like this captain's got to be a friend or definitely a colleague of Picard's. They'll come up together and
yeah,
same age and
they're on a first name basis at least.
yeah.
Um,
Old friend.
Old friend. Picard has an infinite number of old friends.
Mhm.
It definitely feels like they've got the hood popped open on this thing with the backdrop that he has.
Yeah, it feels like they're like, and we'll see later on in this episode that when the Enterprise becomes infected by this contagion, that they will also start pulling systems apart to try to fix things or try to get to the root cause and get around it. Just then, as this conversation is going on, Worf reports, "Hey, there's the antimatter reactor in the Yamato is going critical." And Picard tries to yell over to his friend Donald Varley and the crew of the Yamato, but it's too late. And the Yamato has a catastrophic failure of the warp core, and they blow the hell up. Now, we see the bright flash on the screen. Picard has to wince, with all that brightness coming through. And it is a spectacular destruction here of the Yamato as we see a piece of debris come flying. And the shockwave hits shields up. The shockwave hits the Enterprise.
I thought that piece hit the Enterprise.
I think it might have. I think they got the shields up just in time. And then Worf goes, look, and we see that the entire saucer section of the Yamato is just burning away. Data will say there are no life signs. And remember, there are, families, children on board, the Yamato, presumably, as there are on the Enterprise. So well over 1,000 people are dead in an instant here. And Data has no readings to report here. Is this the
Because
first
of the
episode?
square footage of that ship, they all died alone.
Yes, because of all the room on board. If you were on deck 15, you may never have seen another person. But yeah, we see the feeling here. The whole crew is just stunned with the sudden deaths of the Yamato. And just then, there's no time to grieve. But who's here? The Romulans. As Worf reports, a Romulan ship decloaking, Captain. And that is our cold open for the episode. I think it's a pretty strong opening. You see this ship blow up, and all of a sudden the Romulans are here. Norman asking, is this the first episode referring to Picard's love of archaeology? I'm sure that it is, yes. I don't think that has come up so far. But I do like that aspect of his character.
You know what else, though? Like, this really also emphasizes the first time that the Starfleet is not immune to disaster.
No, yeah. It's also a good point.
And this is not like this is, if you've been following that horrible disaster down in which island was it anyway, 130 people killed in a roof collapse. This is like that kind of scale. Like,
Dominican, I believe.
yeah.
It's this catastrophe, but then we see here on the title card for the episode after the credits, the Romulan warbird right there. We've seen it before, but and it's a majestic, fierce, intimidating vessel.
Yeah,
I love that ship.
Me too. I've always loved it. It's got a big hollow middle, but it's intimidating and powerful. And so the Romulans are coming in here. Picard hails and wants answers. Eventually, he gets to talk to Commander Terrace, a female commander who has the bowl cut going here, as well as the big old on shoulder pads that the Romulans like to go with in this particular era. As we mentioned,
Favorite Romulan here.
yeah, she's a great Romulan. She's not the one who comes back later on. Remember that episode that will come later where Deanna Troi gets surgically altered into a Romulan and she's kind of dealing with some other. I don't think it's the same person, but it really reminds me of that episode.
Look similar though, yeah.
Yeah, and sound similar to me, at least in my memory. And so Picard says, "Were you responsible for the destruction of the Yamato?" "No, we just got here." "What are you doing in the neutral zone?" He's like, "I could ask you the same thing." "Well, never mind that. It's for us to question you why you're in the neutral zone." And then, Picard does his famous cut the sound, cut the thing while he talks to his officers. about what we do. Deanna's like, I don't think she's lying about not being responsible for the Yamato. I don't think that they're directly responsible, and she's very sure of her rights and her things here. So he then comes back on the audio, says, "I will leave this neutral zone after we've conducted our investigation on the destruction of the ship, and we'll leave when we're satisfied there's no other problems." I think the other thing also Commander Terrace said was, if we were going to destroy the Yamato, do you think we would have stopped with them? We would have destroyed you too. So thank your heavens that we weren't. This episode written by Steve Gerber and Beth Woods, and not names I'm familiar with in terms of Star Trek writers. So we'll see if their names, what else they went on to do after this. We then go into the briefing room after this. This is Geordi talking about what happened to the Yamato, about how the antimatter was supposed to be dumped when there was all these problems, but it wasn't. Picard goes, "That's not possible. There's supposed to be these fail safes to prevent this." And he goes, "Yeah, it is possible if there's this sort of specific series of events that takes place, and the fail safes all fail, and you end up in a situation where the ship just destroyed." So they say it doesn't seem like the Romulans are involved here, but it's something else. And then I think after the briefing ends, Troy and Picard have sort of this one-on-one moment where she kind of says, everyone's really feeling on edge here after the destruction of the Yamato. And I think Picard's response was something to akin of like, we could all be dead soon, so we better focus on the matter at hand, if I'm paraphrasing that correctly.
That's actually his line there is a repeat of a line that Spock says in the original series at one point. I can't remember which episode was, but I think it was to McCoy about how time is one thing that they don't have an abundance of.
Oh, he says that to LaForge a little later on here.
Oh, is that? I thought that was this scene.
Yeah, I do.
It was the Paradise Syndrome, 1968.
Right.
Ah.
Yeah, here it is.
Time is one thing we do not have in abundance.
Right. Anyway, so then
I think that's a common Star Trek line.
that's definitely a thing captains say to engineers a lot, especially too. So then Picard's kind of contemplating everything here, what to do next. So he decides to pull up the logs of Captain Varley from the Yamato. I think he does a keyword search based on if anything that says Iconian or Romulan. Let me hear it. And
This was cool back then. Okay,
Yeah.
the way this searched, because you remember what this is 1988 or
89.
89. You couldn't do anything like that.
Keyword searching? What do you mean keyword searching?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, show me everything that says this or where he mentions this, right? And you're right. Now this is not such a big deal, but back then, I guess the idea of what you could imagine computers in the future to do, right? That wasn't
Right.
necessarily...
But even how they listed it, they played this segment and then they listed and then they pull out the keywords and stop there. Right there, you go.
Yeah, and then they even played a couple of logs in there that weren't as relevant or not as important, but there's a little bit of an investigation going on here as Picard is going through it.
Yeah.
And Varley, even though these are his personal logs, he's very much mission orientated in here, and he's kind of like, well, if the Romulans get their hands on this Iconian technology first, it could be bad news. And he's like, my first officer says I shouldn't go into the neutral zone. There's actually you see Picard make a face where he's like, yeah, you should have listened to him. But then not going into the neutral zone. But and then finally, I think we catch up to one of the logs here closer to when we saw the Yamato destroyed, where Varley mentions that he's been to Iconia, he's seen it, but it's all going to be for naught if he can't get back and warn the Federation about the threat. And they're planning to meet up with the Enterprise. What else? Was there anything else mentioned here? I think just that they were having the system failures that ultimately led to the destruction of the ship. So that is the end of the search parameters, as it will.
That is, yeah.
Picard,
that's pretty neat.
Picard tapping into some of his Dixon Hill detective skills, perhaps, in this
Sleuthing.
episode. He's a bit of a sleuth. But yes, then he leaves the room, and the door to his ready room does not open. The first clue that perhaps the Enterprise could have the same contagion. Yes, exactly. That the Yamato did. Then I think Picard goes. Oh, because Captain Varley mentions the probe, the Iconian probe, in his logs. So he goes to talk to Data. He's like, "Do you got anything about the probes?" He's like, "Yeah, we have an image of that. Let's have a look from the Yamato." And they go, "What the hell is that? It looks like a big blue ball with some flickering lightning on it." And that's exactly what it is. So Picard decides, okay, we need to go to that planet and kind of figure this out. What they found at Iconia, and see what else we can learn. It could be the key to saving us. So it's going to be like, I think it's like a 10-hour trip at warp 8 or something. It's not close, but they have a little while to get there.
3-hour tour.
Exactly. Yeah, and presumably, we'll see that the Romulans will show up later. So they're clearly just following them while under cloak as well. So Picard's in his ready room, just I guess killing time, looking at the pad when Wesley comes to see him in those pants that Ashley Millard hates, and I can see why, just from this shot alone.
So high-waisted.
They are very high-waisted, yeah. So Picard says, "What is it, Wesley?" And I think Wesley says, "Tell me about the Iconians. I thought they were just a myth. Is that right?" Picard has a fun line here where he says,
China was thought to be a myth until Marco Polo traveled there.
China was a myth, everybody. At least in Europe.
So basically, Wesley's got his number. He can, okay, how do I get to the captain? Talk about history.
Yeah, talk about history, and then Picard's like, "That's not really what you want to talk about, is it?" He goes, "No, the Yamato blew up. How are you guys also okay with it? How are you so comfortable?" He's like, "Comfortable? We're not comfortable. We've been trained to deal with this death, Wesley," and and everything else. And then Picard starts to get into this speech, into this lesson. He was like, "The first time where we're not moved by the death of an individual." And before he can really finish the thought, while he's ordering his tea Earl Grey hot, it comes out in the form of a potted plant, or some kind of flower, chrysanthemum.
Yeah,
maybe.
where's Davin to tell us what kind of flower?
Yeah, Davin could be the botanical identifier here, but. He's like, "Didn't you order tea, Captain? That's not tea, even though it's got leaves." He's like,
That's not Wesley. Wesley would have been like trying to fix it.
Turns out that's what Earl Grey tea looks like before it's turned down to tea form.
Yeah, that's it before it's been put in bags, I guess. Anyway, but more technical issues is what this is indicative of. In engineering, there are systems problems happening here that LaForge is trying to fix, slowly. Picard, even though they're at warp, Picard is not, happy. He's like, "You need to get this fixed." He's like, "Well, I'm going to need time." And this is where he says, "Time is something we do not have in abundance, Mr. LaForge. So chop, chop. Let's get this going."
Time owes you nothing.
Right. Time is the fire in which we burn. Finally, the Enterprise arrives at Iconia, this kind of desolate-looking world. Then they identify that in the mountain ranges of one of the continents, there is like a control center there that they can look at, and we even see like a little bit of a flash of light come from it on the viewer here, which catches everyone's attention. Because the planet is launching a probe at the ship, much like it did at the Yamato. And Picard's like, "I'm going to bring this in with a tractor beam, and we're going to study it." And then LaForge goes, he's like looking at his readings. He goes, "What? No!" And he tries to call up to the bridge to warn them, "No, destroy the probe. Don't let it scan you, because it will. What happened to the Yamato will happen to us." But comms are down.
Did he try to get his uniform communicator?
I don't think so. No, he only tries to use the internal systems. So he's like, "Okay, I'm going to try to use the turbolift," which of course is also not working. So he is going to run to a different turbolift. I guess somewhere else on the deck, because you couldn't get up there fast enough from engineering. We're talking about 30 decks up. You have to, unless it would be a long way to take a Jeffries tube. in the time you have.
So I think this is also the first time that you understand that turbolifts don't only go up and down; they also go horizontal.
They also go, side to side, back and forth.
Yeah.
So LaForge, inside of that turbolift, has a rough ride, I would say. He gets
Sure does.
thrown around. He's upside down at one point. Some great physical acting. I don't know if this is all LeVar Burton doing it himself, but it was pretty
I feel like
impressive.
it's all LeVar Burton up until this moment. I feel like this was a stunt man.
Yeah,
He gets
maybe.
the
The rest is
crap
LeVar.
kicked out of him in this episode. He gets this. He's got shocked, like Data throws him across.
Oh
the
yeah,
room.
and then Data throws him across the room. Yeah, we'll get to
Like,
that. It's,
I love how if you watch closely in these scenes, you can see that they've definitely done multiple takes of this because it didn't look right because he's totally sweating through the back of his uniform.
Yes, yeah.
Oh
And you know what
yeah,
else is funny? Is when they got to the bridge, he's like fired out.
yeah. He gets. At one point he's on the ceiling here, and then he loses his visor, and he tries to put that back on, but then he gets thrown again. Here, it's quite comical in some ways. And then Worf's like, "Okay, we're getting ready to get the tractor beam here," and just then this stuntman gets launched out of the turbo lift at high speeds, landing on his neck, and while still holding his visor, which I thought was impressive. He goes, "Captain, destroy the probe! Destroy the probe now!" And he goes, "Worf, phasers, fire!"
To Picard's credit, listens to his officers. That was good.
Yeah, he was just like, "Cool, all right, let's do it." He doesn't have time to really second guess it, and they destroy the probe before it can fatally infect the Enterprise, which is kind of like the whole exposition of the next scene. Oh yeah, and then Picard says, "Welcome to the bridge, Mr. LaForge." I know you've been here before. Thank you, sir. So in the briefing room, basically Geordi explains that the Yamato was infected by the probe, basically with what we would consider like a computer virus of sorts. I don't know how common that term was in 1989. I think that obviously computer viruses did exist then, but I don't know. I guess they weren't in the popular culture zeitgeist as much. Trying to even when I saw certain movies as a kid about computers, I don't know.
Independence Day was really when computer viruses were in vogue. Like that was peak. People were learning about viruses because AOL it was pretty booming by that point. I'm pretty sure people were on.
What year's
hackers. What was that movie with Skeet Ulrich about Kevin Mitnick? That one was around that time too.
Johnny
Right.
Mnemonic.
Mnemonic?
Mnemonic. That was Kiefer, or not Kiefer.
Keanu.
Keanu.
Yeah.
Keanu.
Yeah.
That's right. Not
Yeah,
Donnie
I like that movie. It was Lawnmower Man. I feel like was kind of one of those.
Lawnmower Man.
I
Yeah.
forgot about Lawnmower Man.
Yeah, but I feel like those are even a couple years after this. All of those examples, right? And
Remember
so,
the net?
Yeah, the net. That's
Dude,
like,
we reviewed that for Hold Up. It's awesome.
yeah, would kill people with insulin. Poor hospital practices. But we find out that the Enterprise was infected because they had downloaded the logs from the Yamato. But it's not spreading through their computers quite as fast as it would if they had been scanned directly by the probe. That the systems are incompatible, but they don't know how to fix it. They that the ship is eventually could be destroyed here. I think what does Geordi say?
We're sitting on a bomb that could go off any second, or maybe never.
Maybe never. So
Real helpful.
I love that. That's best and worst case ever.
right, wouldn't it be? Might be a premature thing to say here, but considering what happened to the Yamato, you could theoretically eject your warp core just for safety purposes.
It's Schrodinger's warp core. You're not going to find out until you open the box.
Shax isn't on the bridge to suggest that every 5 seconds.
All right, of course. I want to eject the warp core and throw it at the Romulans. Down in sickbay, we get the only scene here with Pulaski in the episode where, they're having all kinds of technical malfunctions. They're in the dark. And this one nurse says to Pulaski that it's not working. Whatever they're trying to use to fix this broken leg. So she says, use a splint.
Splint, it's a very ancient concept. You take 2 flat pieces of wood or plastic, a bandage. The broken limb is kept immobile.
That's crazy. That's not practicing medicine.
Oh, yes, it is. It's a time-honored way to practice medicine with your head and your heart and your hands. So jump to it.
This is
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah, I agree. This is a bit dumb.
Like, wouldn't these people know how to do field dressings and things like that? When you,
Well, that's Norman's point as well.
It's established later on that they do like extensive field training in Starfleet where they like drop
Yes.
you into the wilderness and make you survive in that. So like
there's
I
no
guess
way
this
a
guy-
medical officer would be on the ship if he didn't know how to do that kind of thing.
Maybe
Well,
they
maybe
got
it-
him out of the science.
Well, I agree. Although, I guess it's kind of presented here that maybe like, I don't know, it's such an archaic way of doing things that, to him, it's, it's like going back to leeches or something like that.
yeah, I think that's what they were kind of going for.
But
I choose to believe that they just got some dude out of the science division who has like basic first aid knowledge because they're in a crisis for whatever reason.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
He's
he's like,
actually,
I'm practicing medicine today. Let me show you that, it's his idea of what practicing medicine
Someone
is.
screwed up on the duty roster and he's a future Canadian and he's just too polite to say anything about it.
Yeah, so she said, get to work, whatever your job is, and get on. And he's like, okay. And he kind of makes a face. And that's the end of them for this episode, really.
And he goes on to kill 6 people.
Yeah, with splints. Down in engineering, Geordi and Data are trying.
Splinter.
All right. So then down in engineering, they're trying to fix the computer systems. This is where Geordi gets electrocuted by the console or whatever. So Data decides to come over and, to alleviate the suffering and possible death, he just throws Geordi across the engineering.
You know what I need when I'm being electrocuted? A battery to grab me from the back.
Yeah, I don't know if he had to throw him this hard necessarily, but
This is one of those early season syndrome scenes that I was talking about because Data shows obvious concern and emotion during this scene, but I'm almost wondering if it was they pulled him way too hard on the rigging and that was a genuine reaction by Brent.
Okay, this look here from Data / Brent Spiner, which seems like a face that Data would make, but it's hilarious.
It kills me.
Yeah, he's like, oh, that was a little tough, And
Hey, Sam.
and then Geordi is down on the ground. He looks like he could be dead, but he goes, Data, what happened to me?
Any answer would be mere speculation. This is yet another example of how our actions have random results.
Thanks, Data.
Do you know,
Thanks.
you know what? It'd be kind of fun to like figure out all the times that Jordy's been hurt. I think he's probably been the one who's been hurt most.
In this episode, he gets
No, in all like seasons 1 to 7. How many times has he been hurt?
Oh, he
A
gets
lot.
I feel like it would be a tie between him and Riker.
No, Worf gets thrown around a lot too.
Yeah, but Worf doesn't get hurt.
Well, Troy broke his wrist that one time when he
That's
was.
true. He had the broken back too.
He did have the
Oh,
broken back.
and the Borg messed him up once.
Yeah. Worf's took his licks as well, but yeah, Geordi getting a lot of abuse in this episode. Then
He's
we
just
go
like,
to
I wasn't even supposed to be on duty today.
yeah, I'm not even supposed to be here today. Then in the next scene, we got Riker talking to Picard, where Picard. I think is this where they're talking about the away mission and going down to the planet and trying to figure out, maybe there's something they can do down there. Where Picard's like, I'm going to go on the away mission. He's like, no, you're not. We talk about this all the time, Captain. I go on the away missions. You stay here on the ship. He goes, no, I'm the archaeologist, number one. I should be the one to do this. I've been studying it since I was a boy, playing with model ships and everything else. So you have to let me do it. And Riker kind of gives in a little too easily, if you ask me. But that is
I
the
like
thing.
to think of young Jean-Luc on the vineyard, squishing grapes with his feet while reading archaeology textbooks.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And we don't even know about Galen yet. Galen, his mentor.
Right, that guy hasn't been introduced yet, but yeah, these little tidbits that they introduce in Picard's character, I think, are cool. So they're gonna beam down. Well, even though I wouldn't trust the transporter. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
Right at this particular time, but we can see that one guy in O'Brien's transporter room is trying to pull apart all the panels. But O'Brien's like, I don't know, man. This could work. It's this baby's working right now, but it could also not. And Picard goes, we know the risks. Energize, Mr. O'Brien. All right, you insist.
You sure about that? Are you sure about that?
Are you sure you want me to do the slidey thing? Okay, I'll do it.
This is not going to be good for my career record.
They're gonna put me on some sort of space station for this.
Just right after Picard beams down, all of a sudden, in front of the Enterprise, Romulan warbird decloaking right ahead, everybody.
I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that scene right here, when it comes to full like or opacity, is the scene that is depicted on my Enterprise bridge.
Okay.
Playset. I'm pretty sure that it's this screenshot that is on the display screen on the.
Oh yeah, it could be, yeah.
Quick, go dig it out.
Yeah.
That's gonna take a while.
So while Worf is on this away mission, we get like this other ensign with a lot of hairspray going on. That is taken over at Tactical. Now,
Very late 80s.
Yeah, very late 80s. And so Riker calls for shields. But Wesley goes, the shields are up, the shields are down, the shields are up, the shields are down. They're getting ready to be fired upon, and then all of a sudden nothing happens. There's no attack from the Romulans.
Gozer from Ghostbusters. That's what.
Is that who it is?
I don't know if it's
it's not her.
but
It's not her. Yeah. Are you a god? Then die. Yeah, and so everyone kind of goes, well, we lived, everybody. You know, maybe that's our fate.
Fate protects fools, little children, and ships named Enterprise.
And Troy says,
In another time and place, this could be funny.
yeah, it could be funny that, you know, we're thinking we're going into battle, and then all that to be turned off. Then
Yamamoto just got blown up. Come on, Troy. That was inappropriate.
So this tactical officer says, I have no phasers, Commander, you know, and he gets a little upset with her.
If it should become necessary to fight, could you arrange to find me some rocks to throw at them?
Yeah, she's like, shut up, you stupid guy. You're not.
It'd been great if she went to the replicator and made him.
Yeah.
He would, in fact, 20 some odd years later, get to throw rocks in Picard.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
So then he gets on here with Commander Terrace, you know, and throughout this conversation, she's like, well, we could destroy you if we wanted, but we kind of figure out that the Romulan ship is having the same technical problems that the Yamato and the Enterprise are also having, where we see them start to cloak and decloak right in front of them, and the communications are all glitchy. While this conversation's happening, Terrace is, you know, doing her whole "I'm a Romulan and you suck," and why are you? We claim this world for the Iconian Empire or whatever, or the Romulan Empire rather. Riker says they're launching a probe. Destroy it, Terrace, before it's too late. You know.
Well, didn't she also blame them for infecting them? Like,
oh yeah. Like all this typical Romulan suspicion and accusations that would come here. So they managed to destroy the probe at the Enterprise's warning here and save the day. But no thank you from the Romulans. Not even a fruit basket. So
that would show weakness.
That would show weakness. You're right. So what are they going to do now? The powers continuing to flicker. And what about the captain? We can't beam them up while our shields are up. And they're going to leave their shields up while they have a Romulan ship nose to nose with them as well here, and there's kind of a stalemate in play. So then we go to the planet itself and we catch up with the away team. We get to see the exteriors here on the decimated Iconia, the once capital of the Iconian Empire that was bombarded from orbit 200,000 years ago.
I love all the matte painting work in these episodes of TNG.
Yeah.
When it's not just the same background of the Klingon planet and that, like
right.
When it's original like this. So cool.
Yeah, I mean, I like this too. It's a good establishing shot. Like since I have watched this episode, I've gone on to play a game called Star Trek Online, which has a whole storyline about the Iconian Empire. The Iconians actually come back in that game, and like it's really interesting. So I was looking at a lot of this through that lens tonight, and you kind of get the whole backstory in that game about what happened on Iconia. Who attacked them and everything else. So if you're a gamer out there, a Star Trek fan, I would recommend checking that out. As Picard, Worf, and Data make themselves into this control room of the probes. So we get even to see this like sort of miniature version of the probe is sort of at the center of the console. And Picard and Data are kind of doing their little archaeology thing where they're like, well, Picard's like, could there be like a common language here and these pictographs of these other species that were maybe once under the Iconian Empire? So they kind of start doing their whole hieroglyphic interpretation here, I would say, while we cut back to the Enterprise and the Romulans. And Troy's, her senses are going off the charts here. Her spidey senses are tingling. She's like, with all the technical issues going on board the ship, the crew is very anxious. There's a lot of frustration and angst. And he goes, well, what do you recommend? She goes, well, I don't know, give someone everything to do. Like, give them a purpose. And he's like, how about you organize like an evacuation plan in case we have to get off the ship, if it's going to blow up.
I love how he does that. He does this all the time with her.
Yeah.
She says, okay, you gotta do something with the crew morale. And he always just throws it right back at her.
Throws it right back at her. She goes, well, what if you have to negotiate with the Romulan again? And he goes, whatever. Like, I can negotiate with a Romulan without you here. I'm not too worried. So Picard wouldn't send her away, but Riker's like, no. All good. I got this. It doesn't end up having to matter. Then we go back to Picard and the away team. Where Data goes, he's done all his computations in his head and he's figured out sort of how to disseminate the language. He starts going into this whole tribe about, like, I think I understand the language and the common words, but I won't be exact. I could get some things wrong in my interpretation of the language. That will be important in a moment or two. So he thinks he's deactivating something or powering something down. This is the first example of how he's not an expert in the Iconian language. And it sets off this electrical discharge from the console, which then opens up the portal that we'll come to know as the Iconian Gateway. Kind of a window, a door into different places and locations. Data makes a joke or a comment here, rather, that was not manual override or whatever I thought I was pressing. And they start looking at this window, and I thought that and Data goes out of his way. He goes and he puts his arm through it, and Picard's like, "You idiot! What are you doing?" Well, Data's like, "Well, we established it's not a hologram." He goes, yeah, but you could have maybe get stuck over there, and I can't afford to lose you to this thing, so that was, Data with all his intelligence, sort of needs to be reminded of that.
I think there's also the curiosity factor. He just, I'm going,
I'm checking it out. I'm going to stick my arm through this portal to wherever, and Picard goes, that could be on a planet on the other side of the galaxy. And we will find out, because these Iconian gateways come back in a Deep Space Nine episode, and we find out that the Iconian Empire did extend into the Gamma Quadrant and other places, and so it could literally be anywhere. Now, they seem to mostly be locations on Earth, if I have to be honest. This looks like it's Greece or something.
Well, that could be that planet that the ensign from Lower Decks and the Greek gods come from.
Could be. This appears to be the
U.S.
planet that Quark and Odo had to climb that mountain together, and get through that together. And so Picard starts theorizing that they talked about the legend of the Iconians was that they were like demons who could appear out of thin air and were like sort of had these magical powers. And he says, "What if
smoke and water demons?
What they didn't do? They had no starships. Was the other thing." And he goes, "What if they
demons
were using
of Nathan Phillips Square?"
I mean, Worf goes, well, they were conquerors. We know they were conquerors. He goes, well, we don't know that for sure. You know,
What I'm going to say may sound unscientific. The victors invariably write the history to their own advantage.
so that the Iconians may have been destroyed by people who were afraid of their technology, potentially, and that the stories were here. Just then, Worf goes, "Look, Captain, the Iconian gateway leads right onto the bridge of the Enterprise."
Dum, dum, dum.
Well, that's interesting. We even see that guy's pulling apart Worf's console right in front of him. Worf's gonna have words with that guy later.
What do you do with my weapons?
Yeah. Just then, Toronto City Hall appears many times here. Now,
So when I watched this, okay, here's the thing, because it was on television and we had, landlines. I remember calling my friends, "Are you watching this right now? Is that Nathan Hilton Square?"
Now, for me, having grown up in Montreal, like I had no idea what Toronto City Hall looked like back then, or in the years I was growing up there until I moved to Ontario. So this didn't mean much to me back then when I saw it, as a kid. But it's pretty cool now. I don't know if is it meant to be Toronto or is it meant to be another planet?
I think it's meant to be some kind of future. I don't know why, but the whole idea of that whole the city hall is that if you look at it from the from aerial view, it's actually an eye looking into space.
Oh, okay, that's neat.
Right, because you've got the center, which is the eyeball, and then the two eye, like the eye that lids, I guess.
Yeah. Only an alien thing could look like this.
I know
It was
for
a
me,
very
when
iconic building.
I know for me when I first watched it last year, I was pretty surprised to see this. I was like, "Oh, wait, what?" And yeah, apparently at the time, it was just built, so everybody was raving.
No, that's not
about,
true. It's really old. It's not. Yeah.
It was built in the 60s, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was just discovered or something.
Maybe the Americans discovered it in the 1980s.
It was a myth up until then.
It was a myth until Marco Polo discovered it. So it was how it all went there. Anyway, Data was then working on the Iconian console there. He's like, I think that I know how to work this. And he does not. His interpretation of the language is a little off. And he gets shocked with the electrical discharge, which seems to infect him with the same computer virus that is affecting the Enterprise. And they go, Data, are you okay? He's like, no. You get the sense that Data is really in distress here. And then Picard goes, look, it's the Enterprise again. We need to get out of here. There's Toronto City Hall all over again. I think this is the part where Picard says, you know what? We need to destroy all this technology. We need to destroy everything we learned here. Worf objects. He goes, yes, but destroy it, Worf. We can't let this technology, this power fall into the hands of the Romulans or anybody else. It's too great of a power. And Data's trying to talk to Picard about how to go about destroying the facility, how to, he's like, probes. His speech is kind of broken. And he, what he's trying to tell Picard is that he needs to launch some probes, but keep the launch doors closed so that it will cause an explosion. And they kind of get there eventually as Worf destroys his tricorder. That was a perfectly good tricorder. I just got that tricorder. It was brand new. So Picard comes up this plan. He's like, he's going to cause this malfunction to sabotage the facility, and Data's trying to give him instructions like, you have to do red, blue, yellow, blue, or whatever, and
like Simon says.
Like Simon says, exactly. And it goes blue, blue, blue.
I hope that's not a stutter.
Yeah, me too. We also see the Romulan ship is one of the locations that the Iconian gateway is also cycling.
And we also see they're having trouble because there's something sparking on that bridge too.
Right. So Picard wants Worf to take Data through the gateway, and the Picard is going to follow through in a few minutes. Is the plan. So Worf throws Data over his shoulders and decides to walk through. They don't really know where this is going to go. They have a good idea, but they're having to hope that this will work, and it does. Worf just kind of walks through this portal, kind of materializes through. It's kind of a cool effect, I thought, how they pulled this off for the time. They're pulling panels apart here on the bridge, and Riker rather notices them immediately. Says, "We need to get Data to engineering." Worf says, "Come with me," and Riker goes with Worf and Data to engineering. But who is left in command of the bridge?
He doesn't actually leave anybody in command of the bridge.
No,
I guess the bridge isn't actually working, so
I guess it doesn't matter. So Wesley's in charge. Wow.
Who shot Wesley?
Yeah, because Deanna Troy's busy planning an evacuation, and Pulaski's making splints. And
realistically, shouldn't they have evacuation plans on the ready?
yeah. Well, they have escape pods all over the place, and I don't know if the escape pods are also infected or not. But
I mean, even cheap hotel rooms have evacuation plans on the back of the door.
True, that's true.
And this is the Marriott of space, so there has to be.
They don't get installed till Tuesday.
So down in engineering, Geordi's trying to diagnose Data and what's happened to him, but then Data dies. He won't stay dead, don't worry.
This is like his first time dying.
I think so. Geordi says he's gone. There's, it's a flat line on the tricorder, and that's it. We'll come back to that in a second. Then back in the control room, Picard is getting ready to cause this explosion to blow up this facility. He's inputting the Simon Says of it all: blue, yellow, red. Watching the different things cycle through the gateway. Just back then, we flip back to engineering, and I don't know. There's kind of like this moment where Geordi and Riker are looking at Data, kind of trying to process the fact that he's dead, but then Data comes back to life and sits up, and it's all better again. It was a very short death, and what happened?
Computer reboot.
So yeah, there's this whole reboot thing where Data, Geordi's kind of give us this exposition at the same time where he's like, yeah, he has like a self-correcting mechanism, and he's purging his systems, and basically he had like a Norton antivirus that went to a factory backup or something, or a Data backup that he had a couple of days ago. So he doesn't remember anything up to a certain point, I guess, when he got infected in the Iconian facility there. So he doesn't remember giving the blue, red instructions to Picard or any of that stuff. But Data has these kind of like, he's kind of talking to himself throughout the whole scene. It's kind of funny where it's like, I was on Iconia and now I'm on the Enterprise. How did I get here?
What have I forgotten?
But Geordi and Riker are busy having this other conversation about what to do and how they could do this whole thing to the Enterprise. They're like, well, why didn't we think of this? We could just like go back to the computer settings from a few days ago and or whatever, and go to our backups. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's the 80s. We didn't know yet, I guess, or at least these writers didn't know yet. Anyway, so they kind of walk off, and Data, is kind of just sitting there.
May I help?
I'll help. But what Geordi says, what choice do we have, Riker? We either reboot our systems while we're nose to nose with a Romulan battle cruiser, or we let our own warp engines blow us up. So we ought as well reset our systems. Meanwhile, the Romulans are not in great shape either on board their ship. So we see the Enterprise power down. They're doing their whole thing. Back on the planet, Picard is getting ready for the final steps of his plan. And then we see the Enterprise comes out of their reboot. Their systems come back online, and they're doing fine. The Riker's in the transporter room with O'Brien, and everything's working again. Picard is trying to get out of this burn-in room. But he's seeing like the Enterprise has not come back up on the cycle. It's only the Romulan ship he can escape to. So he says, well, as he said to Worf, in a couple of minutes, any place will be preferable to this room. So he decides to go through and jump onto the Romulan bridge. The Romulans notice him pretty much right away. And O'Brien goes, I've lost him. I lost my transporter lock. Oh, wait, no, I found him on the Romulan ship. Riker's reaction is just like, it's still pretty funny. He's like, what? Huh? So Picard is surrounded by Romulan guards here. And then the commander's like, I've already set the auto-destruct, Picard. I will have the satisfaction of knowing you'll die with me, at least.
No. She didn't set it. I think it set itself because she says you can't turn it off.
Oh, so she didn't turn it on.
Yeah.
Okay. But he goes, well, not today, as he gets beamed away by the Enterprise.
No. He doesn't say not today. He says specifically, because I remember this and I thought it was weird. Not, I think, today.
Not, I think, today. Not, I think, today, Taris. And she's just, Picard! Again. He comes into the Enterprise transporter room. The other thing I wanted to mention here was, okay, like he clearly has a phaser, right? In his holster. He's surrounded by these Romulan guards who eventually, leave him alone, but they could have at least taken his phaser away.
Wait a second. Look at that Romulan just to the right or left of him. Doesn't that look like the first Romulan they encountered, like in season 1?
Oh, it does.
This guy?
No,
the
the
other
other
one.
guy. His right.
His right.
This guy.
Yeah, his right.
I don't know who it is. It's a Romulan. So they all have the same haircut.
Don't say it.
And they all dress the same.
They all dress the same. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, thought that was interesting. Basically, they come up with this. He's like, "Oh, we should give the tell the Romulans how to purge their systems, and so that they won't die." Which I guess Data does up on the bridge.
Riker's like, "Do I have to?"
And Riker says, "But we better move a safe distance away, just in case the Romulan chief engineer is not as efficient as LaForge is with doing this sort of system reboot." And then Picard goes, "I see why you like all these away missions, number one. You be keeping them all the fun for yourself. But look what I can do. I can blow up an Iconian probe when I need to. Can't I?" And Riker goes, "Jesus, I got a monster on my hands."
And then he sort of minimizes what he had dealt with. Like, did anything fun happen when I was gone?
Yeah,
Just a regular day at the office.
Pretty boring around here. I had to send Troy to do some bake work project that meant nothing. Anyway, and she's not back anyway. So that is the end of the episode. As we see down on the planet, we see the Iconian facilities blowing up. The Enterprise pulls away, and we see that the Romulans are able to fly away on their own merit. So I guess they're okay. They're okay too. They managed to do it in time before their warp core, or singularity rather, blew up. And that is the end of the episode in terms of our plot summary. Now, do we have any fun facts?
I do.
To get into that. We call this segment Fun Facts with Adam. Fun Facts with Adam.
All right, let's go. Okay, so 2 things here. This episode was actually conceived by a computer technician and both Star Trek fan. Her name was Beth Woods, who at the time worked on the Star Trek Office's computers. Interesting. And Chris, I saw this one and thought you'd be interested.
Sorry.
Okay. This episode uncharacteristically includes several shots that appear to be used shot with a Steadicam or handheld camera, including, for example, all of the bridge shots in the teaser after Picard leaves his ready room, up to Picard and Varley's line about grasping at straws. The first shot follows Picard as he travels up around the bridge rather than relying on the usual cuts between multiple takes. It results in an unusual tilt in portions of the shot. The early reaction of the shot of Riker and Picard during the communication with the Yamamoto would have been usually static or smooth shots with the camera on a stand instead of having notable handshake and drift. So interesting.
Yeah, I did notice that. I did enjoy those shots.
Yeah. When LaForge is actually on the ceiling of the turbo lift, there's actually spots where the paint is being peeling. I haven't been doing the maintenance.
Come on, keep up with that paint job. It's only like a 2-year-old ship.
Exactly right. Riker points out cloaked vessels cannot fire, and Worf responds unless they've overcome that deficiency, which could be a reference to General Chang's bird of prey from the Undiscovered Country. Jordy, you guys, we didn't talk about this, but Jordy refers to Bruce Maddox in engineering and says, "I just wish Bruce was here, or Maddox was here." He said that.
Who? Jordy says that?
Yeah, when Data was down.
Oh, okay. Because he's like, I need an expert, and so are Jordy and Maddox on first name basis then?
Well, he didn't. He said Maddox. He didn't say.
Oh, okay.
Bruce. Carolyn Seymour, who plays the Romulan Commander Terrace in this episode, went on to play a different Romulan commander in The Face of the Enemy.
That is the episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it is. She's a different one, but same.
And I
actress.
think Norman pointed that out as well.
He said that, so. Yeah, he said something like same actress, yes, but different character. Okay, got it.
This episode was with Riker's iconic line, "Fate protects fools, little children, and ship names Enterprise." This is based on a statement from the 19th century German Prime Minister Otto von Bismarck, who said, "God loves children, drunkards, and the United States of America."
Otto.
Yeah. When Picard, Data, and Worf are on Iconia, several scenes keep repeating themselves, including, of course, the City Hall in Toronto. It also features something called the Temple in Lake Louise. So they're using two. They want to go to Canada.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. As you said, Dave, the second Iconian gateway would be discovered 8 years later on Deep Space Nine to the Death.
Yes, they'll find it there. And I saw that Norman mentioned that it's referenced in a Voyager episode. I don't remember that, but that's cool. Once in Voyager.
And the original Yamamoto was actually the lead battleship for the Japanese Imperial Navy during World War II and was actually sunk on April 7th, 1945.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And was never to be used again after August 1st, 1945, that name. So
the Japanese, well, they don't have a military anymore, but really? Or
yeah, well, back then they weren't going to use it again because it was a disgrace.
Oh, because it was sunk.
Yeah.
And maybe Starfleet will have the same policy now that this one blew up.
Maybe. But we had an Admiral Yamamoto at one point too.
Well,
maybe
no
not.
relation.
Maybe that was a Yorville. I guess that's about it. And we'll go over to ratings, Dave.
Okay, thank you, Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Moving into our ratings section. Let's do it. Okay, I'll go first if you guys like. I think this episode's pretty strong. I think that, I'm never bored. It's got Romulans, it's got action, it's got some level of computer technology. It's got a problem to solve. The Iconians, I think, is a really interesting concept and backstory thing to set up. So I'm going. Do I dare go to 9? I dare go. I'm going 9.
I'm really questioning how I'm rating these things because they get better. And this was a good episode. You know what? How I'm going to do this in my mind is by season and the strength during the season.
Just go by how much you enjoy it.
I'm giving this an 8.5. I really did enjoy this episode. I thought it was strong.
Okay. Worldmind.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna echo those statements. I was thinking a solid 8 for this episode. It's it's got a good pacing. It starts off strong, and it proceeds to continue that. It sort of unravels the whole could this go up? Could this not? Let's see where it goes. I don't know. I enjoyed that aspect. And there was some good humor and some decent stunt work by LeVar Burton. So yeah.
Okay, an 8 from Chris and Justin.
I'm going to bump Schizoid Man down to a 5 and give this its 7.
Okay.
Because like Adam, I was looking at how I was scoring these, and I was going, hey, this is way better than Schizoid Man, and I gave that a 7. So
I stand by my 7 in that because to know him is to love him, Justin.
When adjusted for inflation.
I did love that dated.
You still love him.
Fuck it. 7 for Schizoid and 7.5 for Contagion.
Okay.
All
right.
That's great.
All right. There we go. Okay, so we are averaging, let's see, this is going to be a pretty good score. 8.3 out of 10. This has a 7.6 on IMDb, which is one of the higher scores for the season. Certainly, it's not up there with Elementary, Dear Data, and A Matter of Honor or The Measure of a Man, but it's pretty good. As mentioned, Steve Gerber and Beth Woods wrote this. Writers, I don't think wrote anything else. Did that come up on any of your facts there, Adam?
It did not. No, it wasn't in there.
Beth Woods, you said, was the
Beth Woods was she was the
Computech.
Yeah.
She was a Computech, and
She
Steve
was the
Gerber.
IT person for their office computers, apparently, and helped write this. So that's probably why the computer virus. That's where that comes from.
Got it. And Steve
So
Gerber.
that was like cutting edge.
Was the creator of the Marvel Comics character Howard the Duck.
That's why I know this name.
Yeah.
What
Other
a
works
mistake.
include Man Thing, Omegan, The Unknown, Marvel Spotlight, Son of Satan, The Defenders, Marvel Presence. Yeah.
That would explain the slapstick sort of patina to this episode.
Yeah, it seems like he had a part in Guardians of the Galaxy when that was running in the comics and everything else. He died in 2008.
If you replaced LaForge with Howard the Duck for this episode, it would still work.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah, well, hey, it's interesting that he came in, but I think he only wrote this one Next Generation episode. Yeah, that's it. And then he wrote for other shows like the Transformers, G.I. Joe, Superman,
if,
the animated series.
If there was
Mostly
something
cartoon.
going on with writers at this time, because
Maybe.
Beth Woods she wouldn't have been part of the Writers Guild, and
Right.
Steve Gerber as a comic book writer may not have also been part of the Writers Guild at that time.
Maybe. Yeah, it could be.
Which could be why he's one of the. I'll have to look into that, but that seems like it could be something to do with.
This is the year with the writer's strike. We'll know by when we get to the finale of season 2, which is the clip show called Shades of Grey. That's like the lowest.
Terrible
point of the show.
episode.
It's the lowest point for the show by far.
Was
It's
there
starting-
like 50 clips in there?
at least. So yeah. Okay, so I know what you're thinking, everybody. What's next? What are we doing? What episode are we going to talk about next here? And that's a good question, and I got a great answer for you. It's called The Royale. Coming up next week, season 2, episode 12, where the crew of the Enterprise enters this hotel, trapped in a strange hotel on a planet otherwise incapable of supporting human life, and they can never leave. So
It was a hologram program.
it's not a holodeck episode. It's kind of like an alien illusion.
Does that southern western guy refer to anybody as pit whoopies?
I think he does. Yes, he does. Yeah, so that's coming up in a week's time. We're going to be talking about that. I'm excited to talk about the Royale. So look at that next Thursday. We also have started up our new series called For All Mankind Reviews, or our reviews of For All Mankind. We just did on Monday. We did episode 1 of season 1. It was titled Red Moon. And we'll be back this Monday to talk about the next episode, which is called He Built the Saturn V, episode 2 of the show. We've got a great crew breaking all that down as well. What else, guys? We just had Steve Shives here on Saturday for an interview. Had a 2-hour conversation with him. Really had a lot of fun. I just did a whole First Contact Day symposium with Adam and Justin minutes before the interview with Steve.
That was fun too.
So we've been busy around here on Live Long and Podcast, and we'll continue to be busier as we continue our throwing out stuff out there. What else we got here? Oh yeah, some ratings from the comments. 7.7 from Sam, 9.4 from Norman. He liked the episode. Oh wow. Norman says I haven't seen For All Mankind. Need to get Apple TV and to see this and Severance when I have plenty of time. Yes, you do, Norman, because both shows are excellent. So I hope you.
I'm watching Severance right now. It is,
Oh, where are you?
I'm like 3 episodes in, so like very, very new to Severance.
Have you gotten to the
And,
back rooms episode yet?
Not yet. I think that's my next one.
That's I don't know if that's a thing. I just made.
Yeah,
somebody told me
he's just trying to use lingo from the show that he's heard.
Oh,
so.
somebody told me that the next one involves doors. That's what somebody said, and I was like, okay.
Such a good show.
So I assume
so.
maybe it was the back rooms, but if you're just being facetious, then
Yes,
might
no,
be the
I'm
back
being
rooms.
facetious. There's a game called The Back Rooms where you just like are walking through indescript like office hallways. And it's like a maze game.
That's a whole
Yeah.
Reddit hole that you can go down if you look up back rooms. So you will.
Yeah.
There are hours of videos on the internet. It's like the new Slender Man. Back rooms is the new Slender Man. So when someone's gonna murder somebody for the black rooms.
Speaking of which is a terrible segue, but April 16th there's gonna be some hold up action Davin and myself will be joined by Heather Narduzzi. We're going to be exploring the east coast of Canada as we're continuing our Canadian series, and it also just happens to fall on apparently Cannes Film Day, which is to be celebrated for Canadian film on April 16th. So we're going to be watching Hobo with a Shotgun, How's Your Father, and what was the other one? Paul something. Laurent. I don't know. I'll figure.
Should
out
be
the
Men
name
with
all.
Brooms.
That's not East Coast, is it? Is that?
No, it's not East Coast. You're right. It's Ontario. So
Yeah. I was trying to find something in the House of New Brunswick, and the best options I could find was The Tale of Agaron or Samuel Lount, which was from 1985. So we're going with Samuel Lount.
okay. Well,
Yeah,
check
I
out
was gonna
that
say
over
you
on
could,
Hold Up.
Oh wait, no, that's Nova Scotia, not New Brunswick. Never mind.
Yeah, Hobo with Shotguns, Nova Scotia, and How's Your Father is sort of a representing PEI in Newfoundland.
Nice.
Are you doing any Adam McGoyan films?
I don't believe so. Maybe we could. Where's Adam McGoyan from?
Ontario.
Well, technically, we kind of ended up doing our Ontario episode last episode with Jessica Chan, and we did. We watched Strange Brew, and Canadian Bacon, which turned out to be a documentary, and I Like Movies.
Right.
I like movies. Good. I like that show.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, well, check all those things. I know on Hey, did you see this one? They're having a whole 40th birthday party month for Jason. He's in Chicago right now, he's been doing the Super Mario Brothers podcast with us on Survivor on Wednesdays. So if you're into Survivor, go check out our coverage over on that channel. And Big Brother's
I think
starting
they're
up pretty soon.
reviewing Kiss Kiss Bang Bang tonight.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, they're on tonight. Okay, cool. Okay, well,
They're on now. You should go
They're on
watch
right
them
now.
after this.
they'll be
Rate them.
there for hours. All right. Well, we'll sign off for tonight. Thanks to the panel, Adam, Chris, Justin, and we hope those who couldn't make it tonight, Heather, who I think had a social engagement, and Jody, who's injured with a back injury. We hope you have a speedy
He's
recovery.
got to get a backiotomy.
He's got to get a
Doctor says I need a backiotomy.
All right. Well, we'll sign off for tonight. Thanks, everybody. Live long in podcast, and see you next time here on the channel.
Fate protects fools, little children, and ships named Enterprise.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mario Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.